Welcome to Moneyball Bets for June 3rd. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric from eTalk21 Sports, and that is David at Better DP21. David, how you doing today, my man?
Doing great, man. Just trying to stay awake with this rainy day that I got in front of me right now. Got to look at the board and get some action where I can with some ball bets here, man. Got to get some more positive wins for us.
Mr. Perfection. David knocked it out of the ballpark last week. He went 3-0. I was a business casual 2-1. I am lingering at 0.85 ROI in the green. David is 7-5 plus 4.35 after the sweep of the board last week. So props to you. New leader in the clubhouse, dude. How's that feel, man? How's it
Feels
feel?
good, I had a big minus sign there for a little bit. I knew I was just due for some positive, regression to come back around with these dogs that I've been, chasing. So it was just a matter of time, man. It was just a matter of time. It's nothing like anything else we've been doing.
Coffee tastes a little better this morning, dude, when you're in the lead.
Exactly.
Coffee tastes a little better, dude. Your mistresses think you look a little better. I know how it is, my friend. I know how it is. So this is how it works. We each have 3 bets. We're going to tell you our bets, tell you our reasoning. We'll go from there. We are live right now, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to hop on, ask them. David and I will do our best to get to them. David, I'll let you kick off. What is your first bet, my friend?
All right, so first bet that I'm looking at today is the Phillies and Nationals game. Taking Washington on the first 5 money line at minus 110. So, I the way that I've been teeing this up in a lot of ways has been, better hitting against weaker pitching kind of situations. And, it's paying off. Guess who the number 1 overall offense is right now in MLB?
I'm going to guess the Washington Nationals, my friend.
You were wrong. It would be the Dodgers, who took down the Yankees last night. But the number 2 overall offense is the Nationals right now. So that is where I am looking at, why I'm taking an advantage here. Pitching matchup is very similar, except the Nationals bullpen for their available bullpen is sporting a 5.46 ERA. I am going to avoid a bullpen matchup. Last night they jumped out to a huge lead on Philly. I think they can do the same here with this matchup again today. I'd like to take the bullpen out of it where I can, take the advantage where I can in the hitting matchup. So, that's where I'm putting my first bet of the day, Nationals first 5 money line.
I like it. And I especially like it because my boy Nola's not on the mound for the Phillies, dude. Nola,
there you go. I looked for that today. I really did. I looked for that.
Nola is my boy. Which brings me to my first bet. We talk about pitching matchup. I've been waiting for this kid to come up for the Mariners, and he is making his debut today. So I'm just going to do 2 bets in one. I'm on the Mariners for the first 5 at plus 125, and then also on the game at plus 125. They have Brian Wu going on the mound. This is his first start. Good control, 97-mile-per-hour fastball. He's able to move it around. Great location, good off-speed stuff. And I'm always looking to take these highly touted guys for the first 5 in the game just because the other team doesn't know what is going on. We saw it last night with Reese Olson going for the Tigers. Looked great, just couldn't get any run support. Tigers left 10 on base, which is still astronomical to me that they couldn't generate any runs with 10 runners on. But anyway, I just think it's a good matchup. I think he's going to be able to go through the Rangers lineup. I think he's going to be able to control it because the Rangers, they haven't seen him before. And I know a lot of people always hit me up, well, this guy doesn't have good stats in the minor leagues. Something to remember is defense in the minor leagues isn't as good as defense in the major leagues. A lot of these runs that are generating with these guys are just because there's just poor play behind them. And we saw it last night with Olsen. He was able to truck along. I think Wu is going to be doing the same thing. Flip side, Henley is on the mound for the Rangers. He got knocked around, gave up 5 last time they played the Mariners. Mariners historically have hit well against him. So I'm going to be fading the Rangers. I'm taking the Mariners plus 125 for the first 5 and also plus 125 for the game.
Okay. I see where you're going. I mean, I don't know that I endorse it the same. I can't sit there and go give my full check mark on this one. The only reason why I say that is, Texas for me, sporting like a top 10 offense right now. And meanwhile, Seattle in my book, sporting number 30, man. Really been tough on run support for their pitching staff right now. And me, I have a hard time kind of lining up teams that aren't scoring runs. So, as plays for myself. But I'd like where your head's at. I mean, every other time you've thrown in a pitcher that's come up, I've loved what the stats have shown, especially like we just proved that last night with Detroit, right? Like same kind of situation. I think something that might actually give a little more of an edge, if you will, is I think on the first 5 money line, you might want to consider the plus half. I think that's at like a minus 105, minus 110. And in the event of a tie through the first 5 innings, the edge will go to Seattle in that way.
Should have done it last night. I played the first 5 with the Tigers. I mean, seriously, no run support. I'm still bitter about that one, but we'll move on.
Yeah.
I gave 2, so let's why don't you give 2 back to back, my friend?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking at the next game being St. Louis at Pittsburgh. Basically right now, same type of mentality, going into this one, very even pitching matchup. Montgomery, he's been sporting like a 5 ERA over his last few games. Luis Ortiz also, somewhere around that, edge of like 4. The advantage here in this game is actually with Pittsburgh. And I say that because the bullpen is in a better form for their available bullpen today. They are sporting an ERA under 3. And so pretty much the way that I look at this is very similar to last night's game. They were already coming into this game as a pretty hot hitting overall offense. I had them yesterday, for myself, I think for the first 5, and they ended up winning for the game. They pulled it out in the end. But they're sporting a top 5 offense to me right now across the league. And then meanwhile, St. Louis is sporting number 23 in my rankings. So I'm taking Pittsburgh for the game plus 125 on that money line because, again, like I said, I think their available bullpen today is going to be able to pull it out, with a better going pitcher, better overall offense. And being at home. So, I really like where this one's at for them. Everything looks good for me from a stats perspective, and I'm going to run with that hot offense.
I like it. I like it a lot. Pittsburgh, obviously one of the surprise teams in all of MLB. You got one more, my friend. What is your next one?
Yeah, so my last play of the day is my Atlanta Braves against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And this one's actually it's tough for me, but it's the right play. This is where I take bias out of the game, and this is just proof of that. I'm taking the Diamondbacks first 5 money line at plus 170. Ren Nelson is actually sporting a pretty decent ERA coming into this game. Over his last few games, he's at an ERA of 3.3. You wouldn't believe it if I told you, but Spencer Strider is sporting an ERA of 4.5 and higher over his last few games. So that, coupled with the fact that, again, as I look back into my stats here, Arizona, again, is sporting a top 10 offense. They've been averaging near 5 runs a game. Atlanta right now, in the meantime, has actually only been able to score roughly 2 runs a game for themselves over the last few. So taking the better, overall pitching matchup that I can see, it's a pretty even pitching matchup when you really look at it. But, for the most part, Arizona at home, Arizona's got the hotter bats. They proved it last night. They took one from them. I even bet on Arizona on that game last night. But again, that's where you're going. Like I said, I take the bias out of the game. I'm looking at statistics. I'm looking at, who's got the hotter, who's scoring runs, who's got the better pitching alignment. And, I'm taking it only for the first 5 because, why not? Like, I don't need to worry about the bullpen down the stretch where I don't have to. And you're getting pretty much the exact same odds for the full game. So let's go with that first 5 plus 170 and, keep up in those units.
I like that. I like that play a lot. Arizona is kind of like the Pirates, another team that most people perceive as like a bottom, I don't want to say bottom tier, but a bottom half team that you can still get some good ROI on because they're playing great. My last one, and this line makes 0 sense to me, so maybe it's a trap, but I'm taking the Tigers plus 140. CS is on the mound for the White Sox. He got knocked around last week. We faded him last week. We're going to fade him this week. He only lasted 4 innings against the Tigers last week. Tigers are hitting. They're just not getting runners in. Like I mentioned, they had 10 on base left on base last night. At home, Cease is only 1-2, 4.45 ERA. Flip side, Lorenzen is on the mound for the Tigers. He went 6 2/3 last time against the White Sox, only giving up 2 hits and 2 runs. For the month of May, he is a sneaky 1.95 ERA. He's pitching really well for the month of May, and he's only given up 7 runs, but 5 of the 7 runs were in one start.
Wow.
So for the May, every game except for the game against the Royals, he was lights out. So he's really starting to hit his stride. So I'm going to take Lorenzen plus the 140. I think the Tigers are a little undervalued here in the market against the White Sox. So
I like that mentality. I especially like how you just kind of broke that down in terms of where his ERA took a hit. That's something that I look for a lot of time with the pitching staff that I think a lot of bettors just overlook in general. You see an inflated ERA, you see that, going into it, and that's the public perception misconception, in my opinion, where you're reading data the wrong way. Like, you're going to have your highest ERA at some point. Somebody's just going to have just a bad day. Darvish is a perfect example of that last week. I don't think he got through 3 innings. His last start out or whatever the case may be blew up, but you look at his body of work, you can probably just take the actual average estimate, median, if you will, of, where his actual ERA has been landing. It's probably a solid 3.5, but it shouldn't be something like that's looking ballooned up to 7 or whatever the case, when you look at some of these starting pitchers going in. So I really like that, perspective that you gave there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like to do. I like to look at the month and kind of see. I mean, there's one game against the Royals, he gave up 5, against. So, I mean, and what he pitched what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games during the month. And, 1.95 ERA in the game against the Royals, 7.9 for giving up 5 runs on 5 hits and 5 2/3. So obviously there's just that one bad start. So just to review for the people, David has Nationals first 5 -110, Pittsburgh for the game money line plus 125, and the D-backs plus 174. The first 5, I have the Mariners plus 125, first 5, Mariners plus 125 for the game, and the Detroit Tigers plus 140. David and I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I think we're going to be able to move back kind of around this noon Eastern time moving forward. There may be a couple weeks where we have to go a little early, but be back here next week, same time, same channel, and let's make some money. Make sure you give David a follow at BetterDB21. Best of luck in all your wagers, and let's make some money, David.
Yes, sir. Good luck, everybody.